Can you hear me okay? That's good. Okay, well, thanks very much, everyone, for attending. I've got the death slot, the fifth slot. I'm sure you all want to get to the drinks, so I'll try and make this as exciting as possible. You've had uranium, a couple of litigations and financing litigations, and mid-cap investing. I'm going to talk about what our company's doing in the lithium space, and I'll explain why lithium is important to all of us as we move through the climate change process. I'm also going to talk about Chile, where we're operating, and why Chile, and how important Chile is to the world of lithium. And I'm going to talk about sustainability, because we're all in a world now where we have to do things in a different way. And I'll explain how our small company is driving a change process in the country with the largest lithium reserves in the world. So if I go on to here, firstly, just going on to lithium itself, I should probably go back to the slide, go back to lithium. Lithium is probably going to be the most in-demand product in the world in the next 2 or 3 years. It's the main product that goes into electric car batteries. So you've got all these companies like Tesla, BMW, battery manufacturers, desperately out there looking for lithium supply. There's a lot of projects around the world of lithium trying to come onto supply, and you can see this curve growing. But then from 26, 27 onwards, there's going to be a structural deficit of lithium in the world. So you've got your Teslas and everyone really desperately looking to fulfill that gap. So I'll show how companies like us can start filling that gap, but do it in a different way, a sustainable way. And I'll show you some of the results we've achieved only in the last couple of weeks, which has really been quite an eye-opener. We're in Chile. We've got, I don't know if my pointer, there are 2 main projects in the south. You see, actually, we're in the northern part of Chile. This is called the Lithium Triangle, in between Argentina, Bolivia, and Chile. It's where they've got the most lithium reserves in the world, and where most of the new projects are coming on. Going back to the other projects, we've got 2 projects in the north there. Chile itself is fundamentally a mining country. It's got the largest copper production in the world, and it's up until about 5 years ago had the largest lithium in the world through evaporation ponds. Probably worth mentioning that historically you get lithium from two methodologies. One is hard rock mining, mainly in Australia and more latterly in Africa. Basically digging a hole in the ground, taking lithium out in a hard rock form, sending it across the ocean to China to be processed. About 95% of it's thrown away. It's horribly environmentally, well, the footprint is pretty poor. And then the other way is in the Southern America is using evaporation ponds, mile after mile of basically using the sun to evaporate the brine that's taken out of these lagunas. And again, horribly environmentally unsustainable, and just not allowed anymore in Chile for new projects. We've got 2 projects at different stages. Our main project, I'll take you through Laguna Verde. We've had scoping studies done on both of them, very, very robust economics. I'll give you the hint of them. And we're using a process called direct lithium extraction. There's quite a number of companies around the world that are actually now developing this. This is not new technology. It's been around for 40 years, but it's new technology. It's technology that's never been applied before in the lithium industry. Why? Because you never needed to. You could get it out of the ground in Australia, or you could use evaporation ponds. With this demand-supply difference that's now taking place, there's a need to fill the gap. And what direct lithium extraction is for lower-grade lithium supply, like a lot of the salars that are in Chile, for example, and in Argentina, you would never be able to use them with evaporation ponds. It would take years, and you'd get a very low-quality grade of product. Direct lithium supply, direct lithium extraction, you can do in 1 to 2 days what would take the sun to do in 1 to 2 years. And I'll explain that. We've actually proven that in the last couple of weeks through a demonstration plant. We've got the largest pilot plant operating in South America today. We brought it on stream 2 months ago. I'll show you some of the pictures. We actually have an inauguration ceremony in Chile tomorrow. We've got ministers coming. We're changing the way this is done in Chile. And actually, we presented DLE to the Chilean government 18 months ago, 20 months ago, and they've now adopted it and announced it as part of their national lithium strategy as a new way of all new projects in Chile will use direct lithium extraction. We think as time goes by, because we're doing green lithium, there'll be a premium that comes to the market, and there'll be more and more demand, certainly in Europe and in America, for green lithium, as opposed to the type of lithium I've talked about before. I mentioned about Chile. Chile has really missed the boat to a certain extent. Argentina is moving very, very fast with new projects. Australia is moving forward with all these hard rock projects. And Chile, with the largest reserves in the world, has really let the world pass them by. So they're now doing a big catch-up. So companies like us are actually making big moves in Chile in an area where there is a lot of lithium that can be extracted. And I'll take you through some of that as well. Early engagement with local communities. We've been engaging with the local communities stop projects, in whether it's copper projects, gold projects, or whatever, unless you engage with them. And I'll show you some pictures there. We've introduced the first of a kind in Chile, a relationship with the local communities where we're working in partnership with them. They're helping us draft our EIA. It's never been done before in Chile. And I'll show you some photographs. And in fact, they're all attending the inauguration tomorrow to support the project. And all this is leading towards, the latter part of this year, some real value events. We've got product now coming out of our pilot plant. We are 5 to 6 months away from completing our pre-feasibility study, and that'll demonstrate how this project can go forward. It's a $3-4 million project on the go at the moment with various consultants, and that will give us product and a story we can tell the strategics in the world, the Teslas, the BMWs, and so on. There's already interest, we're already getting approaches. And we've got a proven board that's delivered very large projects around the world. Just to reinforce the point, this is not my study, this is Benchmark Minerals who provide data on the lithium space. And you can see there that this is the supply of lithium, this is the demand. Come 26, 27, these are all the projects in the world coming on, there's not enough. So there has to be a catch-up if this supply is to be provided to meet demand. And you see a deficit from 27, 28, and long-term supply. So this is a market that's moving very fast. We're a small company with 35 million, 36 million market cap. We've done well in the last week. We're up 50% in the last couple of weeks as our stories start to get out, particularly with this new information we're putting out. And we believe we've got the ability to grow. We've had a very good couple of weeks. By the way, this was the lithium price dropping significantly throughout the course of last year. It dropped from $80,000 a tonne to about 15,000, to 11 to 15,000. As supply and demand equalised, that will start to shift, and all analysts are talking about that now moving up again. So we were hit like everybody else. Why we were hit when we're a development company 2 years away from production doesn't make sense, but that's the way the market kind of works. I won't go into our board in much detail other than to say that Steve in Chile, 30 years in Chile, our chairman and interim CEO at the moment, he was the CEO of the largest copper mine in the world, 5 years, took it from nothing to production, and then the second largest copper mine in the world, that was 5 years, both times in Chile. And he's in Chile at the moment with the team driving the project forward. And our board is made up of 3 non-execs. Maha Dowdy was on the board of Trafigura for 10 years and ran their whole worldwide copper desk. Some significant offtake contracts in China and South America and so on. So there's a really fantastic board. Main projects, I'll just quickly flick through that. This is our main flagship project, the most advanced. We've been drilling around this laguna is about 15 square kilometres. We don't drill in the laguna, that's sacrosanct. This is 4,300 metres up in the Andes. The nearest community is 100 kilometres away, 100 kilometres away. This is the main road that goes to Argentina, right past the site, 200 metres from the site. So we've got good infrastructure, we've got access to water, and it won't affect any other community's water table. And we've got a good understanding now of the resource. We've drilled, we're drilling the ninth well at the moment on a 3rd year of campaign. And at the moment, we've got 1.8 million tonnes. That's enough to support a 30-year project at 20,000 tonnes a year. What will 20,000 tonnes a year do? That's about 300,000 cars a year to 500,000, depending on the size of the car and the battery. We've got the PFS underway. It's either quarter 3 or early quarter 4. That's going to be an extensive piece of work which we can share with interested parties. And we own 100% of the entire basin. I don't think there's another company in Chile that owns 100%. That means we can use our technology and re-inject spent brine back into the reservoir. The scoping study we had done, that was announced about 18 months ago. Some very chunky numbers. You know, you've got an NPV using $22,000 a tonne of 1.8 billion and a pretty strong IRR. And looking around about $400 million of capital to get this project underway. People will say, how can a company like our size do that? I'll explain why and how we're doing that and the kind of approaches we're getting at the moment. Low running costs as well, $4,000 a tonne. That's about a third of what you'll be paying in Australia to get their product out of the ground. Moving on to the second project, I'll just touch on this briefly. This is very similar to the first project. The resource is half at the moment, but we've only drilled 6 wells. We've held that in abeyance at the moment while we're focusing our resources on that first project. But we have opportunities now to bring that back on stream again. We'll be drilling again, hopefully at the latter part of this year. And again, we've had scoping study done on that. These are independent studies done by third party. Again, very, very robust economics, 2.5-year paybacks at $22,000 a tonne. These are very big, expansive areas. And again, we have 100% of this project. We've got 2 other projects really on hold at the moment. This is a very large basin in the northern part of Chile. We've done some initial drilling on that. We see some good geophysics. We'll come back to that at some point. We've been talking to potential partners on that. And this interestingly, Salar de Atacama is the biggest production area in the world for lithium. We spotted a gap in the licenses last year, so we grabbed 377 kilometres. We haven't done much work on it yet, but we've got some people we might want to be partnering with on that. And I say that is the biggest play in the world at the moment, so we'll look at how we do that. I've talked about Chile and the grid. I think we've talked again. We're blessed with roads going past our site. Chile's got a very good infrastructure. There's a lot of mining in the area, gold and copper. And ports, we're trying to work out which ports we should send our product to at the moment as part of the PFS story. And also water, we have water access on site, won't affect the water table. And by the way, our water usage is 1/50th of what it would use for evaporation ponds. Funding strategy, you're looking at all these players looking for product. They all come with big balance sheets and big funding resources. We can see 60% debt. We've got some of those people on that list are under NDA with us, have been for some time. We've had them to site. We're thinking about 60% of debt. If we've got what we've got and we can prove it and we can do that through what we're doing at the moment, we'll have no problem raising the capital for this. We're already getting some really interesting approaches at this stage from people that you can see there. And again, this just reinforces, this is brine. It's really cheap. So you imagine today, it's a low price today. It's $15,000 a tonne. We're at $4,000 a tonne. We're economic today. If you can get the price starts moving into the $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 a tonne. This throws off cash. And you can see the operating costs of spodumene and the hard rock. It's just it's chalk and cheese, really. I think the key thing here is about how we're doing this, sustainability. Direct lithium extraction used in the uranium industry for 40 years. It's a means by which you use a resin, and there's 20,000 resins in here. These are tiny little beads. You're welcome to look at these later. We get these from China, as it happens, but there's companies in America and different beads. What this does is, whilst these look tiny little beads, these have got millions of little holes in them, and they capture the lithium. And I'll explain how that works. And what you do it in and this takes 1 day compared to evaporation ponds. So what you do is, this is a schematic. Our reservoirs are about 100 meters to 500 meters underground. So you've got reservoirs there that go on for miles, which have got brine in. And brine is salty water. And this is relatively low grade brine of 200 parts per million. You couldn't use this with evaporation ponds. It would take years. And in the past, you never bothered with this because you've got evaporation ponds and you've got hard rock. Now there's a structural deficit coming. All the companies are looking at, how can we make this work? So we bring the brine up. We will extract it. We'll put it through a process, which I'll explain. We re-inject the spent brine back in the reservoir elsewhere. So all we're doing is taking out the lithium. It's environmentally friendly because you do it in a circular form. Re-injection's been used in the oil industry for decades, and we're doing hydrological tests on that at the moment. As I say, 1 or 2 days, I was going to say, I lost my track there. Renewable energy. We'll use 100% renewable power. So when you put all of that together with re-injection, taking it back out, doing it in 2 days, using renewable power, this is incredibly sustainable lithium production. We call it green lithium, and we think there'll be... And this is an operating plant that's operating in China today. It's a company called Sun Resin. These are about 20 meters tall. And what we've got here is our small version of it. This is the largest pilot plant or demonstration plant in South America. We constructed this. We ordered this about 18 months ago. It's cost us $3 million to date. It's a bit of engineering kit. It's 30 of these columns. They're about 2.5, 3 meters tall, and they're filled with millions of these beads. And what we do is we put the brine that we bring up from the surface. This is our R&D facility in a very big warehouse in Copiapó, which is the main mining town. It's about 200 kilometers from our site. We bring the brine down, put it in this 200,000 litre tank outside, and then the brine is brought in, put through these columns, and through a process of adsorption, where it's adsorbing the lithium onto this. The lithium is a very, very tiny molecule, and calcium, sodium, and magnesium, much larger volumes, doesn't get captured by this. So the lithium gets caught in these resins, and then we desorb the lithium out of the resin using water. So this process here goes on for about the 30 of these, and we started off with a lab facility. We're now doing it at industrial scale. This will do 1.8 tons a month of battery-grade lithium. Now, what we're going to do with that, we're going to send it around the world to battery manufacturers and people. So where are we in the process? We brought this plant on stream about 2-3 months ago. We were constructing at the end of last year, and we commissioned it, teething problems and everything. But what you've got there is a plant that's now operational. And these results we put out last week, we were astonished at the results that we achieved. You go in, you take the brine out, 196 parts per million, 200 parts per million. Through the first part of the process, we tripled 3.6 times, 700 parts per million. And then through a reverse osmosis, again on our site, it's another just a normal process. We turned that 196 to 2,200 parts per million. Perfect. So what we're doing is, you'll see some photographs tomorrow of the first shipment of 24 cubic meters. That's a tanker. It's a container that you put on a ship on its way to America. Because what we're doing is, when we do it from a production perspective, we'll have our own facilities. We're using facilities that exist already in Chicago, in North America. And what they're doing is they take this and they turn it into battery-grade lithium. This process is used whether you use evaporation ponds or hard rock. This is a standard downstream process. And what will come out of it about 3 weeks later, or maybe in about 6 weeks, we will have battery-grade lithium. And that is lithium that you can use in car batteries. And what is even more remarkable about this, these results were well in excess of what we expected. We put out a press release out last week saying it exceeded expectations. Why? Because not only did we get 11 times the volume to get to that 2,200, the rejection rate of other products from using this resin were astonishing. We reject 100% of potassium, sodium, sulfate mostly. And so you've got a brine or an eluate, which is the product you've got, which is pretty pure. The only product we knew, and this was done from the geotech, was boron, and we'll go through an ion exchange process to do that. So we've got a process that's clean, quick, and sustainable, and we've actually put and within the next 6 weeks to 2 months, we'll have product we'll be able to send to anybody who wants to test our product. And they'll go through initial process testing, and then they'll want more volume and so on. We can do volume, because this has been planned for 3 years to get to this stage. So we're at a really exciting stage now as our company moves forward. There's been all sorts of stories about Chile nationalizing the lithium industry. It's just nonsense. The market, or the journalists got that wrong. The two major strategic projects in Chile, the Maricunga and Salar de Atacama, the huge projects. The government wants more involvement in that, and that's what's going on. There's a strategic conversation going on with the two biggest players, Albemarle and SQM. All of the other projects, other than those that are held by the state, are up for grabs. We are in the front line. We've been talking to government now for 3 years, and we're probably about a couple of months away from announcing various things about, as a national lithium strategy. The government's making various announcements in July. On, I think it's the 3rd of July, it's making announcements. So we're in a really good place. Why are we in a good place? Because we've done, we did a partnering arrangement with local communities. These are indigenous communities that have lived there for 1,000 years. We've engaged with them. We've had them to site. We've taken university students to site. We've signed an agreement with the local communities whereby they will help us draft the EIA. It's just never happened before. So their fingerprints will be all over the EIA. You're going to save yourself a year in terms of the permitting process. And they're hugely supportive. They've said they'll go anywhere around the world with us to say, we want this project to happen. Why? Because we'll do it in a sustainable way, and their communities will benefit from this. So we're in a really exciting place where we've got product, 2.7 million tonnes. That's a decent sized reserve or resource. That will be turned into reserves within the next 3 months. We've got Montgomery we're doing more drilling, and we'll put reserves in as part of that. So we're moving resources to reserves. So that will solidify. We think we can produce from both projects about 40,000 tonnes a year. That's getting on for 1 million cars, car batteries for 1 million cars. We are months away from strategic engagement with major parties. Some of them, as I say, we have under NDA. And we've got a board that's able to deliver. Our board's raised, we've done the maths, 3 to 4 billion of capital to raise to fund projects. My background is in the oil and gas industry. I've been raising money for oil and gas companies for years. Just to finish off, this is the first. This is the engagement with the local communities. This is the lady you wouldn't want to mess with. She's the local leader of the local. I think it's a Pala, but she's a lady that's feared in Chile because she's taken on the government a number of times. She's got a great legal team. She's supporting our project now. It's amazing now how this whole relationship. We've built a relationship up and had them to site and so on. So we're in a really interesting position where. The market's now starting to look at what we've got. We've got a pilot plant that's delivering product, and we can scale up. We've got interested parties ready to come and talk to us. We've got banks that are coming to us and so on. So we're at that interesting reflection point where if people want to invest, it's a good time to come in, I think, the obvious thing. Okay.
On that, we are done. Thank you very much, Gordon.
Thank you.
We've got time for a couple of questions. So if anyone has questions, I think a couple of gentlemen here. Green shirt, yeah, and then we'll try and come to you and ask a question yet. Yes, please, go ahead. Yeah.
My question is about the polymer, about the resin. Mm-hmm. Is it standard one, or is it specifically developed for your company?
No, I'd say this is alumina-based, so it's not chemical. It's made. This is actually made in China, but we've tested resins in North America, in China, in Schlumberger. Schlumberger are now making resins. It's a product. So. This was the best. This is a company called Lanshan. They're based in China. They've got 3 operating plants in China. They've actually got a base in Chile. This was the best resin we tested. We will continue to test resins. We've got product we send to China, to North America, and we're not beholden with this company. We buy the resin. They don't have an equity stake in the company. We simply buy product, and this has been quite remarkable. It's better performance than we expected. But we'll continue to test because there's companies like Vulcan in Germany, Lake Resources in all using different products and different methodologies. Basically a similar concept though, using a resin to unlock the lithium.
So Gordon, is it a product designed for direct lithium extraction? Or is it, yeah,
it is.
Question here, please. Yeah.
Hi. In the presentation, you says the PFS maybe 5 to 6 months, but actually in the presentation presented it was third quarter plus the RNS today said third quarter. Can you clarify?
Yeah, it's interesting that because we've got the PFS is a jigsaw piece of about 12 different consultancy contracts. There's power. Where you get your power from? What sort of power? Is it going to be solar or whatever? Water. We had a marketing study done, really fascinating. I should maybe mention that the battery industry is changing fundamentally, and literally in the last year it's changed fundamentally. LG and Samsung have announced they're going to have solid-state battery manufacturing in 26, 27. What are solid-state batteries? You need 5 times more lithium for solid-state batteries. They can't catch fire. What Samsung are saying is you can charge your battery in 10 minutes, you'll get 1,000 kilometers. Game changer. So solid-state batteries are coming, but what do they need? Lithium chloride. What does the eluate produce? Lithium chloride. So we had a study done which changed our thinking and how our products might be developed. We didn't know that 3 months ago. We've got a logistics study done about where we should put the downstream plant. Originally, we thought we'd put it up the mountain. It's more likely it'll be either at the coast or in Copiapó. So all of these pieces of the jigsaws are coming together at different speeds. And we had some snows recently up the mountain. Meant we couldn't get a re-injection well in. We were doing various tests. We have to wait till September for that to come in. So Steve's out there now. He's talked to the team looking at when we're likely to get the PFS out. But it'll be third quarter, early fourth. But it's in that kind of ballpark. And this will be a very chunky piece of work. With Worley, one of the big, it's an Australian international firm with about 12 different consultants all feeding into this process.
A question here, please. Yep.
Yeah, two questions, if I may. The only thing I know about the Peruvian government is described in the UK press as left-wing. So what is the country political risk that you face? That's one.
Well, Chile, but Chile's a country.
Chile.
Chile's a country that's either slightly left-wing or slightly right-wing, and it kind of jumps every 4 years. And what we've got at the moment is slightly left-wing, and they came out with the National Lithium Strategy with pretty horrible PR, frankly. And yes, they want to have more involvement in the strategic plays, but we're applying 100% for our operating contracts, and we've been told to by the government. Government needs investment. BYD is building a $300 million cathode plant, Chinese company in Chile. So it does need inward investment. So I think, we actually welcomed what the government was projecting into the National Lithium Strategy because it gave us clarity about how we can move forward. And so we're not phased about whether it's left-wing, right-wing. It's likely to change in the next 18 months.
Right.
But I don't think it'll change the philosophy of what they're doing.
Second question, how does your workforce manage to operate at 4,300 metres?
There's copper mines at 5,000 metres in Chile, and it's about, you do rotational with staff. I mean, I've been up this, Nick's been up there as well. It's an interesting environment. People do adapt, and you have to manage it. You have to be very careful how you manage it. But Chile's a mining country, and it's its main.
Does it have a significant impact on productivity?
It does affect productivity, but you manage it by rotating staff and doing things in a different way. That's probably why the downstream plant will be down the mountain, because you'll have more efficiencies doing it that way. But we'll have a pretty extensive workforce up there when we're constructing this.
Gordon, are you here for a drink now? Are you going to stay around for a drink? Or
Yes,
do you have to
absolutely,
rush? Yeah. We are out of time, and I'm conscious people might need to get to the bar, someone need to get to the bar. So if you have questions for Gordon, please do come and grab him. Speak to him outside. And thank you very much for coming this evening. Thank you.